Welcome and happy Thursday. I am so excited about this interview. This is one of my entrepreneur spotlights, and this is a great one. You're going to want to follow this the whole way through. But today we have Raymond Sjolseth. I knew I was going to do that. That's why live is so much fun.
Nice job, Amy.
And yeah, you know what? It was because I put it too much in my brain. I don't even know my own name today. But we have Raymond, and he's amazing. And I hope that you guys saw the intro before this that I had typed up there for this interview. But 45 businesses, 40 failures, 5 successes, and 2 crushes. I think that about sums it up, and we're about to find out why and what Raymond is doing now in a powerful way to be coaching and especially helping real estate professionals to grow their business exponentially. Thank you so much, Raymond, for being here. I'm so sorry that I butchered your last name.
Thanks for having me. No, you brought it full circle. I'm super impressed. It's amazing.
Let's talk about that background, 45 businesses. Just briefly share, you are such an entrepreneur from childhood, and I encourage everybody to go to your website and read the full story because you will be different after you read it. But Raymond, why don't you share with us some of those backgrounds and what led you to where we are today?
Yeah, sure. So, the truth is, I don't know whether I was born an entrepreneur or I was born into needing to survive, right? So ultimately, I never did well in school. I graduated high school with a 1.83 GPA. I went to junior college to make my mom happy for a while, left there. I went to work for an engineering company for about 5-6 years. And after that, I just got into my own automotive company. And one thing led to another where, I don't know, I guess, when working in my automotive company, we built show cars for high net worth individuals, right? Like we had clients like Vanna White, Tommy Davidson, Bobby Krieger, Anthony Kiedis from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Van Halen, like we had a lot of high-end clients in Los Angeles that we built cars for. And we did work for Porsche and BMW and Alpine Electronics to develop show cars. And from there, I met a lot of people and had a lot of opportunities presented to me that, of course, I had to be willing to see them and take risk. And I did that. I became the guy that jumped off the cliff and built the airplane or the wings or whatever on the way down in efforts to figure it out. But, I came from a lower middle class family that struggled, and I wanted something different. And my childhood was far from normal, or whatever that means, right? Normal.
Right. Exactly. But really, for those that read his story online, you will see that it wasn't, and what he's accomplished is incredible. Please continue.
So yeah, I felt like I was put into this survival mode at an early age, and that carried with me through my life. And, that's been its own battle, right? Like I've made a lot of mistakes, and often my failures were from not getting out of survival mode and getting into thrive mode. So in a sense, right, we all fall victim to getting in our own way often. And through my journey, of course, I've done that. I've got in my own way, and all those different things have led to ultimately where I am today, which I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for my journey that I've had because it's helped me build both character, B, a skill set that I would have never had unless I went through all of these different chapters in my life.
Well, a lot of people are afraid of using the word, we say failure, just experiences, and the vulnerability that you've just shown to say, hey, I've learned from failed businesses, if that's what you want to call it. It was all just your experiences leading here. And the fact that you're honest about what sets you apart as well. A lot of people talk about what they've grown and built, and it was this and this and this, but you're able to look back and say, hey, here's where I had to pivot and make shifts, and here's where I fell on my nose, and here's where I learned again. And I think your survival skills plus your incredible drive is what sets you apart. Share a couple of those things where, some of those tools that you learned from what you call failures.
Yeah, so I think it's, failure is just a word. Ultimately.
Exactly.
That's how I look at it, right? Like it really doesn't mean anything. For me, failure is experience. Failure is the ability to begin again more intelligently, as the quote says. Failure is the ability to realize that whether you believe in God or the universe or whatever, is telling you to pivot, right? Like you need to approach something differently. So if you're sitting on this side of the table and you're looking at that thing, maybe you need to move over to this side of the table and look at that thing from a different perspective. And that's ultimately what I did. I've had an automotive business. I've had a construction company. I've had a cabinet manufacturing company that served real estate investment trusts only. I've had a consumer electronics company. I've had a couple technology companies. I've had a consumables company, and all these different opportunities and all these different markets and all these different industries and all the different people that I worked with throughout all of these industries. They're so diversified and so many unique features to each of them, both pros and cons, that have allowed me to approach things different, right? And
Mhm.
I don't know if I got into meditation a couple years ago, and it was really hard. I tried it years ago and I was like, this is bullshit, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But a few years ago, I said, okay, I'm really going to go at this. And the big takeaway was so simple. It's literally just begin again. That's it.
Mhm.
So when I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I already knew this to some extent. Like you just need to start over or begin again or take a different approach. And for me, over the past few years, that's really helped me move forward, especially during COVID, right? Just being able to
Mhm.
pivot and adjust and say, okay, I need to
Completely.
table this and move this over here and come around here and begin again. And that's the direction I'm going to go. And even during COVID, the last year, I've had to pivot and make changes to my business
Mhm.
model. It's par for course, but I believe if you take what you fail or what you learn or your experience and you combine that with a good attitude, you have the ability to truly begin again and bring something different to the table for both yourself or whoever it is you serve.
This is why I like to think of you as the most amazing strategic specialist that I've ever met, because that's what you are. You are a strategic specialist. And the fact that you can continue pivoting, a lot of people think, well, this will be my last pivot, or once I get here, I don't have to pivot again. We always have to pivot. We don't know what COVID years are going to come at us or what circumstances are going to come at us. Life, business, changes in industries, and continuing to pivot and taking all of these tools moving forward is what allows people to continue moving forward. I think people get stuck, and stuck is the worst thing that you can ever do. And what I see over your experiences in your businesses, you've never been stuck. You always push through. I love that you brought meditation in this year. And as a ADHD person here, I understand how hard it is to start working on that meditation. I myself have been growing in that area in a big way this past year and have made a lot of pivots. But now let's shift over to talking about what you are really specialized in taking these tools and helping now is the real estate professionals. I work a lot with real estate professionals as well. Amazing people. They definitely need some special guidance because they have to be out there changing and growing constantly with the industry, with the competition. You've taken this business model and your business mind and said, I need to help the real estate professional. Let's talk about the 1012 and what your view is on that as a coach.
Sure. So 1012 is actually my birthday. It's October 12th. But going back to strategy, the whole reason 1012 exists is because I Google searched it and there were no results. So it was a strategic SEO play for ranking in Google, 10 years ago at this point.
Brilliant.
So 1012 is my birthday. One of my good friends tells me I'm a narcissist, but whatever. 1012 was born out of frustration. About 10 years ago, I sold a tech company that I developed to a public company, had a great exit, transitioned out of it. And I started a handful of other companies and I hired some agencies here in Chicago. And I was really frustrated. I was frustrated with the BS metrics I was getting, with the results I was getting. Well, I felt there was a lot of fluff and not a lot of like tangible assets that I could touch or feel or that I would see help me move my business forward. So I took the best people from my LED company. I started 1012 to manage my own brands. The first year we grew, excuse me, from 0 to 100 clients, all
Wow.
organically, no advertising. And as that stabilized and we grew, I realized that, I had primarily been a widget maker. So I was always in the one to many model. And this became more of the one-to-one model, which was both good and bad from a business perspective. But I found myself working with a lot of real estate agents, a lot of small
Mhm.
businesses, a lot of mom and pop businesses. And I like that aspect of really being able to help. And rather than offering, websites and identity and branding and SEO, I found myself being more of a consultant. And my team would backfill the creative aspect of it. In some cases, we would teach them how to do it themselves. And where that's brought me, though, is I've always been a real estate investor since I was 18
Hmm.
years old. I bought my first foreclosure at 18 years old in
Wow.
California for 65 grand. And that became my house for 5 years, which I later sold for 300,000, when the market
Wow.
shot up, which is amazing, right? How about that return? So I became obsessed with real estate as like a wealth tool long term. But as I found myself working with different people and looking at the business and the real estate side, my wife went to get her real estate license, and I was looking through all the curriculum, and I'm looking at what she's going to leave school with besides a license. And literally, it was nothing on
Hmm.
how to run a business, nothing on how to
Hmm.
build your brand, nothing on how to differentiate yourself or how to select what brokerage you may want to work for based off the business model. Um,
Hmm.
so I started to put two and two together and say, hey, there is a framework here that's half professional development on the real estate business model based upon what you're trying to accomplish, and personal development on what you're
Hmm.
really trying to do for yourself and your family and where you want to go. And you really can't have one without the other. The most successful people work on themselves first.
Absolutely.
That's something that, how I got to where I am was by working on myself. That's a priority for me. Every day for 1 to 2 hours, I work on myself, whether it's meditating, reading, podcasting, writing, journaling, understanding the laws of the universe, if you will, with
Hmm.
how it works and what you're trying to accomplish.
That is a common thing between top leaders and coaches and true success models. They all say just that. And it's really important that a lot of people want to cut corners on. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Thank you. But
Yeah, you
please
can't cut
continue.
the corner.
Exactly. You can't cut
No, so
corners.
today, what 1012 has evolved into is half studio, half school. In our studio, we coach, consult, and offer creative services for B2B companies specifically. We love industrial companies, manufacturers, franchises, things of that nature. The school side of things, we focus on coaching real estate agents, and we do some B2B services too, but our
Mhm.
primary focus and primary audience is real estate agents and brokerages.
I love that. And I saw that you wrote a lot of times real estate agents think that they only need to just have a real estate coach that just specializes in real estate. But like you pointed out, having a business coach is just as important that can help them focus on real estate. That was a huge point that you've made with that. I think that's probably the game changer in your style of coaching and how you're working with clients.
Well, I think it's important, right? Like often you'll have a real estate agent that does very well. They have a 6 or 7 figure business. They start coaching people. But if they've only done real estate their entire life,
Mhm.
you're limited to those experiences, right? So, from my perspective, we're bringing a different angle to it. We are a business coach that happens to know real estate. We also happen to know marketing and digital marketing. So, we're able to bring some
Mhm.
different points into it and some different strategies and tactics that our agents or our students or clients, however you want to
Right.
refer them, is
Right.
are able to take and apply to their business that typically helps them accelerate their business. And, that's my ultimate goal when I'm coaching somebody or consulting with somebody is I want to collapse time, right? Like time is this invaluable asset that we can't get back. We can always make more money. We can build another business. We can't
Mhm.
get time back and we can't get our family back. And
Mhm.
most people want more time with their family, right? I know I do. That's one of my constant goals. So what we try to do is collapse that time, right? We try to give them the most efficient way of learning what we can teach them to apply and adapt to their business.
I'd like to give a teaser. I know that you have a method you call the David method. Why don't you share what that stands for?
Sure. So David happens to be my middle name. Here we go back to the narcissist part of
Hey,
it
I've
again.
got Amy Scruggs Media right here, so you're preaching to the choir. It's all good. Branding.
So David stands for decision, awareness, vision, intention, and discipline. And what that is it is a 5-step framework for any part of your life that you want change, improvement, or transformation, right? Like the first thing is you have to know what you want. What do you really want? If you know what you really want, you can decide what you really want. Then you need to be aware of where you are. Okay. And you need to be aware of where you want to go. The next thing is you have to have a vision. What does that vision look like for yourself? What is that? What does that version of Raymond or Amy or whoever look like when they're at that next level.
Right.
Then you need to set the intention or the goals that you're going to need. What are the steps to get there? What does that success path look like? And then D is for discipline and habits. Do you have the discipline, and can you create and cultivate the habits to support those goals, which support the vision, which support the awareness, which support the decision to go where you want to go? That framework is where we start with everybody that we work with. I don't care if it's on the B2B side
Right.
or it's on the real estate agent side. It's very, very important. If you can't tell me where you want to go, I can't help you. It's really that simple. So we
It's
need
super
clarity
powerful.
on what you're trying to achieve and what that looks like for yourself to get there. And that's how we begin. We begin with that framework. What are we really trying to accomplish?
And that goes ongoing, because people need to have that formula in their business ongoing. Like you said, even if you make a shift, do different things, it's so important that that method becomes a lifestyle and a way of running your business and running your life. When people reach out to say, okay, I'm ready, I want to work with you, what does that step look like? Do you do an evaluation first? How do you choose who gets to be under your wing and get this kind of coaching?
Right. So we have an application process that helps us really figure out who's serious and who's not, as well as how well do they actually know their business. So, if you go to one of the URLs below, you'll go to apply, you'll hit apply. That'll prompt you to book a call. We'll get on a review call. We'll go over your application. If it's a good fit for both parties, you'll receive an invitation. If you choose to accept the invitation, the first step is you get an enrollment into your coaching portal. The first thing you do is an assessment. And that assessment asks you specific questions that breaks down the David method with what you're trying to achieve. And we ask for the top 3 goals. What are the top 3 things that you want to accomplish, and what does that look like for yourself? And then from there, we dive into those, using those as our roadmap, but we're reverse engineering the map, right? We're not saying, okay, here's our steps. This is what you got to do. No, this is a custom tailored program for what you're trying to accomplish. Because real estate agent number 1 over here may be happy making 2, 3, 400,000 a year. Real estate agent number 2 may want that 7-figure income where they're making 1.2, 1.4 or more. Maybe real estate agent number 3 wants to open his own brokerage, and go after that model. And those steps are different to get there. It's not the same framework. And there's resources needed, both personally and professionally, to get there.
I think it's fantastic. And I know that some people get maybe tunnel vision sometimes about coaching. I've seen both sides of that fence. Be like, I don't need coaching, I'm doing great. But the one thing that I've learned is that even my coaches have coaches.
Yep,
Great coaches.
Yeah,
I have too.
coaches.
Yes, I have my coaches. Coaches have coaches. So never think that you've already grown too much, you're at a place in your business that you don't need coaching. And what I love about you is your experiences, the businesses you've built, the life that you've already had. You've paid that tax already for people coming in. Like, you've learned those experiences, and they get to come to you and plug in to everything you've already known, done, grown, lost, and gained again. And they can plug in right there. And that's powerful. And I think people that plug into the right coach, like the program you have and who you are, could make growth happen so much faster. And I see that. I've seen it in others. And I think it's outstanding that you're already taking this approach with working with people individually like this.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because if I could go back 20 years to my 25-year-old self and say, hey, if you follow this guy or this dude or this girl and you use them as your coach and bring them into your life, they can cut 20 years off your life. 100% I would take that, right? So when somebody comes into my world and becomes my client or my student or part of one of my programs, ultimately they're paying to learn at my expense. Right? So when you look at it from that standpoint, where I've wasted and lost millions of dollars over the last 20 plus years of experience, whatever they're paying to get into the program, it's minute compared to the ability that they're going to get back and what the return is, once we get their objective. And don't get me wrong, they have a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work you have to do for transformation. You have to want it and you have to go and get it. Right? But if you're willing to do the implementation, I can show you the steps on how to make it happen.
I was just going to say the willingness. That's the biggest thing. People have to have willing thing that we do. If you don't have willingness, you're already lost. If you don't have the right intent, yes,
you have to have humility.
You have to. I work with clients, coaching, that's, there's a lot of humility involved because we're going to personally dissect and figure out your own, comfort levels and everything else. And there's that humility involved, but the success. And when I see somebody, when it clicks, when I watch them grow and thrive in this area in communications and media, it's so powerful.
It's
and
huge.
I paid that tax for 20 years to get to this
Yeah.
point, to understand how to teach that. I'm like, please take all my experience. And
Yeah,
I love
it's
that you're
huge.
bringing that in, and you paid the fee. Like you said, millions of dollars, you've paid the fee for what you're now bringing to people. Coaching is so worth it. And I was excited when I was introduced to you and saw what you're doing to make a difference in the lives of professionals. If somebody was on the fence about coaching, or whether they need it, what would you advise to a young entrepreneur, somebody new in business that's like, gosh, I didn't realize I needed this? What would you advise?
I think it's really simple. If you want change, you have to change. You can't stay the same. Like, I'm in a big hurry to get to the next version of me. That's my goal. That's my only goal. I'm in the big hurry to get to the next
I love
version of
it.
me. Well, what does that mean? It means I have to do work. It means I have to put myself in uncomfortable positions. It means I have to invest in myself and take risks that maybe other people wouldn't. Now, granted, that's also part of my personality because I am driven. I am ambitious. I am a go-getter. I'm hungry. But if you're on the fence about coaching, my question is, what are you waiting for? What are you going to change today that's going to help you change tomorrow?
I totally agree. I'm always uncomfortable. If I am comfortable, I know I'm doing something wrong. That's like, I need to be uncomfortable because that's when I know that I'm growing. Standing still, staying stagnant is
Well,
never
it's
an
funny because
option.
there's that saying, Amy, and I'm sure you've heard this, where if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the
You're in
wrong
the wrong
room,
room.
right? Like, that's the situation I try to put myself in all the time. Like, I want to be in the right room where I'm not the smartest person and I have the ability to learn from people so I can help and serve others, because that's my ultimate goal. I love teaching. I do.
I
I
love
love
it.
teaching. I love seeing transformation. I love just, like, I am a people pleaser in that sense.
hmm
And I want to do
I
that. Like, I want to contribute.
I completely relate, and I see that. I hope that everybody reaches out. You can reach Raymond. We've got the information there, but you can also reach me directly. I can get you to him. I have a red line to get a hold of him so that you can get an assessment, get questions answered. I really advise it. Man, there are those few that you go, wow, they've got it. They've got the program for making people find themselves and become successful with the tools to stay successful. And Raymond has that program. Reach out today. So glad that I got to talk with you. Thank you for bringing your excellence, your wisdom,
Thanks for
everything that
being
you
here,
learned.
Amy.
Thanks for bringing all your past taxes that you've paid to get to this point, to be able to make a difference in others' lives. And I really look forward to doing a follow-up. I think we should do this regularly and
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah,
some
I'd love
success
to.
stories and other ways that we're learning to help empower people and keep them engaged. Thank you
I'd
so
love to.
much.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you.